Well, hello and welcome to India Fights Back. You're watching RSTV with the host Rajat Kain. Well, this is one show that gets you all the latest of information of how India is fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, what the world is doing and what is new in terms of coronavirus and the new pandemic. Well, in this episode, we'll take forward our discussion on a new mutant that has been discovered in United Kingdom last week. Ever since then, the world has been cognizant about development over there. In India too, 6 cases have been detected. All those 6 people who have been found positive with the new mutant just flew in from UK. Now they happens to be in isolation and they are doing fine. The doctors here in India, they're very firm, they're very clear that, of course, we need to be cognizant or to say we need to know more about this virus, but there is nothing at this stage that needs to be set into an alarm. So, going forward, what all is required to be done from our end, you mean the end from the normal public as well as from the medical fraternity who is doing every bit possible to keep us safe? Well, we have a very important panel of 3 guests along with us in this discussion. Dr. Rakesh Aggarwal, he is Director, Jawaharlal Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education and Research, in short JIPMER, Puducherry. Well, many thanks for joining us, sir. Dr. B.L. Sherwal, he is Director, Rajiv Gandhi Super Speciality Hospital, New Delhi. Well, many thanks, Dr. Sherwal. And lastly, we join with Dr. Anil Gurtoo. He is Director and Professor as well as the Head of Department of Medicine, Lady Hardinge Medical College, I beg your pardon, that is LHMC, New Delhi. Well, many thanks for joining us. Let me start or to say open the discussion with you, Dr. Gurtoo, as we have 6 new cases being detected from people who have just flown in from UK. Now, what will you suggest at this stage? What is the condition vis-a-vis the new mutant of COVID? Dr. Gurtoo.
What would I suggest in terms of the new and developing situation as regards this new mutant? First of all, we have to frame this emergence of a new mutant in the larger perspective of a natural and ongoing biological evolutionary processes in all life forms, which includes viruses also, which is called growth by mutation.
Okay.
So similarly, like all life forms have emerged from mutation being worked upon by natural selection, and that's the evolution.
Right.
It's natural, it's to be expected. Whether there are 6 or 600, it's to be expected. They will come to India also, and they have come. So it is a normal process which has been picked up, and this mutation is of concern only from 2 or 3 perspectives. One, that it is a rapidly spreading one, which is overtaking the earlier mutants. Earlier also there was a mutant called D614G. That mutant, which emerged sometime way back in February, has been overtaken in many places by this new emergent mutant, the B7 1.1.7.
Okay.
It is normal. We expect 1. 2, this mutation is of concern to us to be watched for because it involves a region in the spike protein which the virus uses to get into the cell.
Okay. Okay.
Does it mean the end of everything? No. Why? Because this virus uses what we call the spike protein S to get into the cell. It's like a key that locks in and unlocks and gets in and captures our cellular machinery and replicates itself. An infection. Now, this mutation is only on 1 addition. The other is 2 deletions.
Okay.
Out of several other points which are still active and functional on the spike protein. Even this region, the most specific region which is of concern, which has to be guarded against from an immune point of view, the RBD, has over 200 200 different points. Unless all the 200 different points on this RBD get refractory or get mutate, the virus will not still be able to do harm in terms of natural immune response or the vaccine which is coming. The second concern. So mutation is a theoretical observation to be followed up with concern for the scientists and the doctors. Nothing more needs to be read as of today. For the public, what is its implications? In terms of outcomes, severity, death, or severity of illness, none. None as of today. It is only of concern to us. Public, what is of concern is that we have to double up our safeguards using the same three strategies of masking, avoiding crowded spaces within closed structures with poor ventilation, and maintaining social distance. Those three standard COVID appropriate behaviors have to be followed with far greater stringency at the public level. So enhanced surveillance, enhanced behavioral concerns, COVID appropriate behaviors for the public, and for us, enhanced surveillance, which means we will add one more component to the surveillance other than the standard surveillance, which is called the genomic surveillance. In addition to the normal standard surveillance, which has been on in our country, in response to this, we have added one more component, molecular or genomic surveillance, wherein we are also trying to capture and map out the genome to study how many, as we have known, 6 out of the 33,000 who were surveyed have turned out positive. So this is the new added component. For public, it only means redouble our effort at maintaining those three COVID appropriate behaviors. Beyond that, there is nothing else as of today from a public health perspective.
Right. Many thanks, Dr. Anil Gurtoo, for your opening remarks. We'll come back to you. Dr. Aggarwal, joining us from Puducherry, many thanks to us. So we have been discussing this issue of new mutant in RSTV, especially on this show. Now, it's been nearly 10 days, if I'm not wrong, since we have discovered this new virus. Let's put that in the perspective here. Theoretically, we know that this virus is known currently for the pace of its spread or transmission. So have we found, or to say, are we zeroing in on any conclusion of any correlation between the severity, A, and secondly, the pace of spread, or to say transmission? More the transmission, more the severity, or is it indirectly proportional to it?
So, Mr. Rajat, we are talking about the mutant virus as compared to the previously known or the wild type virus. And we are talking about two characteristics. One is the propensity to spread from one human being to another. And second is the severity of disease. When we compare any two viruses, whether they are variants of the same virus or we go across viruses, propensity to spread has no relationship whatsoever to the severity of disease caused by a virus. Rather, there are times when it can actually be opposite. A virus which is more likely to spread may not cause so much harm. And these are two very different characteristics just because of... So, and I'll give you an example. The common cold virus that we have, the viruses that we have, they spread very efficiently, but they cause very little disease or very mild disease. So these have no relationship. Just because this spreads faster, this spreads more, does not mean that this is likely to cause more severe disease.
Right. Well, that's very important, and the way, you rather cleared the air at this stage. At least we can safely say that the correlation between the pace of spread and the severity happens to be none. We also have Dr. BL from, I beg your pardon, we have Dr. BL Sherwal from Rajiv Gandhi Super Speciality Hospital. Sir, as both the panelists, Dr. Rakesh Aggarwal and Dr. Anil Gurtoo, they suggest about increasing or enhancing surveillance. So, how surveillance will help in dealing with this new mutant? So far, there has been 6 cases in India, and as we can expect, the cases will only grow. So how surveillance will help us in at least putting, if not putting a lid to it, but at least having a control over it? Dr. Sherwal.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm really, happy to, listen from my colleagues. Very nicely, they have elaborated.
Absolutely,
As far as, surveillance is concerned, when we talk about the surveillance, you have to see the examples, or if we have anything before. So for that, I'll say the live example is Delhi itself.
Okay.
And if you have seen this journey of surveillance in Delhi, earlier they were testing capacity in Delhi around 10,000, then it raised to 20,000, then to 40,000, and now approximately 80 to 90,000 samples are being screened.
Right.
So how that does it matter? Basically, if you can screen more and more people, you are going to go to the people and contain them then and there only.
Okay.
More and more cases are known, and then you can take different measures to localize that infection at that area only.
Okay.
So now you might have seen that yesterday there was only 500 cases. The infectivity in Delhi is less than 1%.
Yeah.
Same in Maharashtra, they have done wonderful job. Or as you know, the other state also are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So very rightly, my earlier colleagues has said that there is nothing to worry, but at the same time we have to be very, very cautious. One, and we have to increase the surveillance not only for doing the RT-PCR testing or rapid testing. Along with that, now we have to add the WGC, that is whole genome sequencing, and I think Government of India has already taken note of that. And now all the samples which are going to be collected are that can be randomly, or people who are coming from the affected countries, they need to be
essentially UK and South Africa and European countries, right?
Sequencing it to be mapped, and then once we know that yes, these are the people who are getting the new strain, and then the scientists are working on that. That what are the effect of this strain other than the infectivity, which are matter of concern in a country like India, definitely, because we are having a large population, and density of population definitely matter. And also we are also concerned about the whether it is more lethal. Also, another concern is that it is affecting more young people, children.
Okay. Okay.
Which we were saying that in India, particularly, we have not seen that infection in that population.
Yes, so far not. Yes, you're right.
So these are the things we need to closely work with the epidemiologists, with the clinician, and government has to guard from time to time. I think the containment zone, or the travel of the people from the affected country has been banned till 31st. I think that may get extended. So as an early, we can stop that, and then we can get, ourselves ready for that. That as we have done in the COVID only, that we got a time, and in 2-3 months we have prepared our facilities. So we have to be ready for that.
Right. That's very important, Dr. Bail Sherwal, especially the way, your observation that this new COVID strain is affecting youngsters in the country. It has been detected in large numbers. Now, that's very important for us to also understand. Dr. Anil Gurtoo, let me ask you a very important question here. As Dr. Sherwal that's his observation, and of course, that's based on a study that the younger population happens to be more susceptible to it in the countries it's found in abundance. We know in India, the cases are far less, and it's just early days. Which population mix you think should be extremely careful about this new strain? I know, there is no correlation between the pace of its spread and the severity, but still, which population I mean, which mix nonetheless you would be asking to be on the guard?
Which mix? So let us say there are two ends of this equation. One end asks the question, who is that part of that mix of population which is more likely to spread the disease across as a vehicle, as a contagion?
Right.
It is the
That's
younger
very
people.
important. Yes.
Why?
Okay.
Why? Because they are more interactive, they are more mobile, and they travel to all places, mixing up here and there, and that natural hesitancy and all to keep away is less in them. And
Dr.
the
Gurtoo,
other
I'm
thing is
sorry.
that they are.
Dr. Gurtoo, sorry to interrupt you here. When you say the younger population, so just for a, for a fairer perspective, by younger you mean including infants or a certain age group, say post-teens or near teens?
Let's say children
Okay,
upwards
children.
up to almost 40, 50. Now,
Okay,
this
okay.
age group, especially 12 years, 18 years, 30s, they are more, they mingle more. They are less inhibited in their social interactivity. So more the mingling, more the social interactivity, more is the spread, and this strain spreads easier, so it doubles up or more. However, at the same time, while they act as vehicles of extensive spread, they themselves are likely to remain asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic,
Okay, okay.
which makes the combination of high spread
Uh-huh.
in an asymptomatic person
Uh-huh.
to an unsuspecting adult. So the implications for the younger generation, the children and the younger people, is that they are likely to act as vehicles of a rapid spread of this variant if it comes. At the other end of the equation of the mix are the people above 50 years of age, increasingly 60, 70, the older people above 50, let's say, or those with comorbid. Now, they are not likely to spread this thing as fast because their mobility patterns are more restricted and they are more
Absolutely.
cautious by attitudinally, behaviorally.
Important. Yes,
However, if
yes.
they get it, the impact of this virus on them is likely to be more severe in terms of disease outcomes.
Okay, okay.
More
I
severe
get the point.
disease, more
Yes.
deaths. So these are the two ends of the equation. The younger end will help it spread fast without getting too much of morbidity or bad disease outcomes. And it will spread it to those who are older than 50 or with comorbidities, who are less likely to spread it themselves. But if they get it, they are more likely to experience a more morbid or worse outcome, a more adverse outcome. So these two have to be separated. And how? The same three COVID appropriate social behaviors, masking, social distancing, and avoiding crowded spaces where mixing occurs in poorly ventilated enclosed spaces. So avoiding crowds in closed, poorly ventilated spaces, social distancing, mask. If we do these three, regardless of which strain comes, we are safe. If we don't do these three things, regardless of what, good or bad, we are still going to get into trouble. As simple as that.
Right. That's very important, Dr. Gurtoo, that first you said that the younger population, which you categorized as the below 18 population of all the mixes, would be a far more carriers of the new strain, whereas the population which is above 50, the senior citizens and the older population would be the one, if they are, they'll be more susceptible of having a far more serious severity of this new mutant. Dr. Aggarwal, we know that it's still early days, and so far there hasn't been any proven study to say of that the new vaccine or candidate vaccines that is manufactured around the world will have any bearing on, or rather new mutant will have any bearing on those vaccines. We know that Moderna and Pfizer, the makers of two authorized mRNA vaccine, have rushed to test their vaccines against a new variant. Now, going back in the history, and if we study the mutant and their behavior, so what has been the response of vaccines on the mutants? Has there ever been any epidemic sort of situations we have faced before like this, Dr. Aggarwal?
So there are mutants known that do not respond to the vaccine, that are not prevented by a vaccine.
Okay.
However, they have not become very commonplace.
Acha.
For instance, there are mutants of hepatitis B virus that
Okay.
are resistant to the vaccine. That there are mutants of polio virus that are don't respond to the vaccine. But the fact remains that those mutants generally have replication deficiency. They are replication defective. If that protein changes sufficiently so that it will no longer bind to the antibody induced by the vaccine, it will also have difficulty in entering into the human body and in multiplying in the body of a patient. And
Right.
therefore, there is a very good likelihood that if a virus mutates so much that it does not respond to the antibodies produced by the vaccine, it also cannot multiply as well and cannot cause as much disease. So again, it varies from mutant to mutant. We really cannot say about this mutant and each virus vaccine as of today. These things will evolve. We will have to understand for each vaccine and each mutant combination over time. But this is not an unusual phenomenon. These things happen.
Absolutely.
And very likely, all the vaccines that we have in development today would still continue to work against at least this mutant, if not the future mutants.
Right. It's very important, Dr. Aggarwal. Many thanks for your remarks on this issue. Dr. Sherwal, as we were discussing about the surveillance and need for enhancing surveillance in your earlier remarks. Now, there are very important issues that you pointed out in terms of the age group that would be more susceptible to it. And Dr. Anil Gurtoo also threw light upon it. Now, here, as we, I know it's early days, as I've been saying about this new mutants in my programs. So as we go ahead and study the phenomenon of this mutant further, will there be any change in terms of nomenclature of fight we're having against this pandemic?
No, as of now, actually, we are not sure how it will affect, but as of the evidence is concerned, no scientific evidence is there till now. But we have to be very cautious that it may affect, in different way. Otherwise, infectivity is basically attachment of the virus to the ACE2 receptor. So that has more affinity to that. That is important. So if we talk about the infectivity and then it multiply more rapidly in the cells, and then so that is the basic reason that why this is more dangerous.
Right.
So that is, and luckily we are able to diagnose it by the same method as by the other. Earlier also we detect the gene NS or ORF, any of the two, so that we are able to detect the same. So I think as of now, we have to be very, very cautious.
Right. Well, many thanks, Dr. Gurtoo, for your remarks. Many thanks, Dr. Anil Aggarwal from Puducherry for joining us. And many thanks, Dr. B.L. Sherwal, for elucidating this extremely important issue of new mutant and the essence of surveillance and how that will be helpful in the fight against this new mutant of COVID. Well, many thanks to viewers for joining us and watching this show where we get you experts, and they are the ones. I mean, it's just not a mere discussion, but a straight advice from all our experts who are joining us and seriously throwing light upon how India is fighting this pandemic. But before we leave, a small appeal to all our viewers. Please maintain COVID-appropriate behavior, keep wearing face masks, keep washing your hands, and do not forget to maintain the physical distancing. Remember, these three are small, little, yet important things you can do to counter this pandemic. Well, many thanks for joining us in this episode of COVID-19 India Fights Back. Keep watching RSTV for more. Thank you. Goodbye.